Slayer players, welcome to the 13th episode of the CCF variant series. This time we are looking at something dangerous even from a mile away, even if you are invisible. The Archvile variants, which include 16 different in total. All enemies will be tested in the ultraviolence difficulty while also displaying the name, spawn code, health, rounded difficulty, spawn rate, movement speed, and item drops. If a monster has a soundtrack, it will have the song name and the song author displayed as well. Also, since these are Archvile variants, most of these shown will also have dead bodies scattered around the battlefield for the showcase. The links to the official YouTube videos that have the links to the mod will be in the description. The link to this updated battlefield that you see here is also in the description. As always, please leave a comment if I have missed something for a particular monster. Ready for the Hell Wizards? Let's go! Archvile 1 is the Exile. Standard skin tone, red eyes, with down-pointing horns on the sides of the head. It is the most common, standard Archvile sounds, and stands at 700 health. It can walk at a medium speed, but can also shift its speed a bit faster. It has only two abilities, which are the flagship abilities for most if not all Archviles. One is an attack, the other is a support ability. The attack is the undodgeable hit scan spell attack that makes you bounce up and do moderate damage. The other ability is resurrecting non-boss, non-Archvile type enemies that it comes across in close range, one at a time. Even though it is the easiest Archvile, its difficulty is higher than other standard level enemies because of its almost unlimited range never miss hit scan attack, which the only way to avoid it is getting behind solid walls, or any cover that is not sprite cover. But you only have to really worry about that if you have near zero health, because even a bunch of these won't be that much of a threat. It won't be that hard to kill when you have good shotguns. Up close first double shotgun, then immediately switch to the quad shotgun and it's dead. Or just a single hexa shotgun blast. You could also stun it to stop its spell attacks, which won't be the same for some attacks for higher level Archvile variants. The Exile gets an E- difficulty grade. It drops only the rank 1 healing orbs. Archvile 2 is the Diabolist. It's not as hard and challenging as the original Diabolist. Completely red skin with horns and yellow eyes, making it look almost like the devil himself. It is the second most common, has modified Archvile sounds, and stands at 850 health. Its ground movement speed is barely any different than the Exile. But its attack is a step further. This time its spell attack doesn't just do its explosion launch damage, but also near unavoidable fire damage during its spell charge, making it almost impossible to fight this thing without taking damage. Those flames can barely be avoided by running, which even if you stun or kill the Diabolist, the flames can still do damage. The other ability is obviously resurrecting other dead enemies that it is next to. If you don't have good speed and want to take as little damage as possible, then be right next to solid map cover. In mid-range, you can just take it down with an assault shotgun or plasma rifle type weapons. Fighting a bunch of these guys can be a chaos, as the flames could obstruct your vision, making it difficult for you to see what you are shooting at. It can survive one full Hexa shotgun blast, which will require you to finish it off with other weapons, so first regular shotgun shot, then blast it with a Hexa shotgun, or 2 quad shotgun shots. The Diabolist gets the E neutral difficulty grade. Same rank 1 healing orbs. Archvile 3 is the Infernalist. Same shape as the previous enemies while having hellish dark orange skin and horns. It is the 3rd commonest, has the same sounds as the Diabolist, and stands at 1300 health. The movement is the same medium speed as the last, and it may leave trails of fire as it walks, but they don't do damage. It may have almost 400 more health than the last and more attacks, but are they more dangerous? Let's find out. It can fire a ground-based trail of damaging fire. It fires multiple, slightly homing, ground-based projectiles. It can also fire a spread of explosive fireballs. Its location-based line-of-sight spell attack can rain fireballs above its target that can be ran and evaded. However, its enemy resurrection ability has a trick to it. It not only resurrects one enemy at a time, but also gives them a special effect when it dies again. Enemies resurrected by the Infernalist emit a damaging fire on death. It may have more health than the Diabolist, but its offensive skills are not as threatening, at least in an open area. All of its attacks are definitely avoidable even if it sees you the whole time you are fighting it. Even if you are fighting a bunch of them at once, you still have a chance to avoid getting hit. Just keep firing your shotguns at them and you're done. Only in enclosed areas or in a place around many dead enemies does it become effective at being a potential threat. So only having higher health and less threatening attacks, it gets the same grade as the Diabolist, an E neutral grade. It does have better drops, the large rank 1 healing orbs. Archvile 4 is the Impure Vile, a corrupt variant. Again the same shape, but this time with grey skin and blue eyes. It is uncommon, has different modified Archvile sounds, and comes at 1200 health. It may move at a similar medium speed, but it can also shift its speed slightly faster while leaving after images. This time its offensive skills surpass the Diabolist and Infernalist. It can resurrect dead bodies that it comes across. It also has a second way of resurrecting dead enemies. Sometimes when it hits you with a hit scan spell attack, it also resurrects the dead enemies around you. It can also fire a barrage of wall-bouncing soul shots. And it fires a 3-spread of homing, elevation clipping floor projectiles. Like with any enemies with spell-based hit-scan attacks, get behind solid map cover. Those wall-bouncing projectiles can bounce back if you're not looking. Be sure to be away from dead bodies if it tries to do the hit-scan spell attack. Those homing shots can get around thin corners and force you to move, especially before the Impure Vile does its spell attack. The high health and number of attacks it has give the Impure Vile a D- grade. The Impure Vile can drop large rank 1 healing orbs, large magic essence, the Hellion regen, and the occult spellbook. Archvile 5 is the summoner. It has the shape of a Hellion with grey skin, dark red details, and a sprite of 3 skull cubes spinning over its head. It is uncommon, has similar sounds as the Diabolist, and comes at the same health as the Impure Vile, being 1200 or 1200. The movement is the same as the previous, walking at a medium speed, occasionally shifting to slightly faster, blurry speed. I thought this was supposed to be called the Vampire because of its main attack, which is a hit scan spell that can heal itself by draining your health and your armor when you are in its line of sight while the spell is active, which ends in a launch. Why is it called the Summoner? Because mostly when you are at a distance, it can drop its 3 summon cubes to spawn 3 random enemies consisting of non-boss variants of Imps, Bull Demons, Revenants, Hell Knights, and Hell Barons. It can do this multiple times. They are also tied to the Summoner, so they will remain alive until you kill them or you kill the Summoner. It can also resurrect multiple enemies at once in a short radius, which do not count as minions. It can also leave an after image to confuse the player. If it's the only enemy, find a pillar to get close to, then try to blast it down with your shotguns. That way, most of the time it will only focus on trying to drain your health rather than summoning any minions. So you could quickly get behind cover so that it doesn't drain much of your health, which in turn doesn't recover its own. A few quad or hexa shotgun shots should deal with it quickly. Facing multiple of these gives you a good chance of fighting an army of different demons, and if there's too much, then the best way to kill all the demons is to focus on the Summoner. That way all of its minions will automatically die. Keep in mind, this does not include resurrected enemies. This only affects the minions that it summons. Definitely a more effective Archvile variant. In the end, the Summoner gets the D neutral grade. It drops only the large rank 1 healing orbs. Ooh, Lord, this is a crazy one. Archvile 6 is the Velocirator. Same shape as the Exile, except it's green.
It's green!
It also emits a green light and a green aura. It is an uncommon variant. It is also considered a boss type. It has more than just creepy and Doom 3 Archvile sounds, and stands at 1,450 health. It doesn't just move at the same speed as the previous ones, but it can also teleport. The attacks, the abilities, my goodness are they big. Its hit scan spell attack is worse than the Diabolist, as its flames have a wider area of effect and can take less time to unleash the explosion. It also shoots a volley of fast-moving, high-damaging souls that go right through targets. It fires a spread of homing ground projectiles. It does a large spread of elevation clipping trails of ground explosions. It is also invulnerable as it charges this attack. It can also resurrect multiple dead enemies at once. It doesn't summon minions, it summons monsters, which means they are not exclusive to the Velocirator, and they are not tied to the life of the Velocirator. And every time the Velocirator is in its monster summoning state, it is invulnerable. I will say this is the hardest non-legendary Archvile variant. This guy tries hard to keep you from hitting it in an open area so that he can place a wall of enemies around itself to keep you from attacking it. It has no limit to the amount of times it can do this. So if you do not have an arsenal capable of quickly taking out massive amounts of imps and demons, then you are going to have a hard time even trying to hit the Velocirator. Not killing it, but hitting it. You can even get stuck in its army of enemies. By the way, the Velocirator can heal itself when it does some of its abilities, which ups the difficulty. So you are going to need something like the Devastator to get rid of all the extra enemies so that you can re-engage the Velocirator. Best hope it doesn't summon more enemies again. The best way to mitigate this is to hide behind a pillar and stay on its corner when it comes in sight and blast it with a shotgun, or to have a weapon with homing projectiles and shoot it around the corner it's at, so that as long as it doesn't see you, it won't use most to any of its abilities. The Velocirator gets the B neutral grade. Best hope you don't kill it unrewarded, because it can have some high tier drops. It has large rank 1 healing orbs, demon tech boxes, the Hellion regen, and an invulnerability sphere spawn, which can include, of course, the invulnerability sphere, as well as the DooM sphere, the instability sphere, and the Armageddon sphere. Time to relax a bit. Archvile 7 is the Dark Hellion, obviously the shape of the Hellion with black skin emitting black smoke. It is an uncommon spawn, has Hellion sounds, and comes at 1000 health. Its ground movement speed is essentially similar to the others. The most active attack is obviously its hit scan spell attack, which in the charging state damages you and blinds your vision. It can also resurrect multiple dead enemies at once. It is basically a more annoying version of the Diabolist. Flames that damage and blind you, and resurrecting more than one enemy that it is close to. It strangely counts as a boss variant. The Dark Hellion gets the E neutral grade. It drops rank 1 healing orbs, and as expected, the Hellion regen. 8th Archvile is the Phase Exile, shape of the exile with gray skin with purple eyes. It is uncommon, has similar sounds as the Impure Vile, and spawns at 1650 health. Its movement is more unpredictable than the others since not only could it teleport, but also since it is a phase variant, it also walks around faster when it is cloaked. It may have a similar spell attack as the Exile. But it also fires multiple wall-bouncing homing soul projectiles. It can resurrect multiple dead enemies that are close to it. It may not have all the same attacks as the Impure Vile, but it is definitely a step above it. In addition to dealing damage, its attacks also do the phase stun, which blinds your vision in an instant and redirects it at the same time. It can use its abilities while it is cloaked, making it a bit tricky to hide from its spell attack, and you have to try to guess which angle it is attacking from. You can barely see it when it is up close. You are going to need more than just basic weaponry to take this thing down quickly. The explosive minigun would be a good weapon to use. If there's more than one, it would be hard to avoid all of their attacks, even with solid cover around. And it is tricky to keep track of where each one is, as you can get flanked by one when they're cloaked. The Phase Exile gets the D+ grade. What it drops is disappointing. Just rank 1 healing orbs. 9th Archvile variant is the Hierophant, a new shape of demon, floating noble type of demon without legs, magenta skin with the black goat horns and gray shackles. It is the most uncommon, has the sounds of the Stream Protector from Quake 4, and starts at 1500 health. It may start moving slow, but it is also a flying type and can quick strafe and shift its speed faster. It has multiple attacks. It may not have a hit scan attack, but it has others up its sleeve. It can fire a volley of Hellstaff shots, which is like the magic substitute of the plasma gun. It also throws spreads of high damaging firebolts, which emit other damaging particles of fire. It can also fire a magic fantasy beam. And its most powerful attack is charging the alt fire of its signature weapon, a straight beam that on impact immediately makes a high damaging wide area of effect that lasts for a while. It also resurrects multiple enemies near its radius. Don't underestimate the Hierophant just because it doesn't have a hit scan attack. In a tight space, this enemy can be dangerous, especially with its area of effect damage attack. That attack can force you to move far away from its point of impact. It can drain your health and armor fast if you are in it. Always be moving when near this thing, as the beam could also kill you quickly. The Hierophant gets the D neutral grade. If you are lucky enough, it may drop useful items. It can drop the large rank 1 healing orbs, small and large magic essence, the invulnerability chalice, the hell staff, and one of the most rare weapons, the fantasy staff. This is an elusive one right here. Archvile 10 is the Illusionist. It sometimes starts on its fake death. Shaped as the original Archvile with grey skin. It is a rare variant, has the same sounds as the Impure Vile, and spawns at 1000 health. It can walk at a medium speed, but it can also teleport, which it teleports in a cool way. This thing could confuse you during combat, hence its name. Starting with the Archvile support ability, it can resurrect multiple enemies at once. It can fire a couple of homing shots. Its spell attack is more than just doing damage at the end of the spell, indicated by the red smoke on the player. When it does this attack, it even heals itself rapidly. Yes, it can heal itself over time, especially with this attack. One of its abilities can summon spots of white flames that do rapid damage to anything that steps on it. It can summon shadow clones of itself that can also do spell attacks. Not only summon clones of itself, but it can also summon one other Archvile variant as a minion, which even includes the Velocirator, but its Archvile minions also die if it dies first. Also, sometimes when it dies, it does another hit scan attack similar to the DooM Shadows spell. You're going to be in for a hell of a fight if this thing summons a Velocirator as a minion. Even without summoning others, this thing could fool you with its abilities, and you are going to need some weapons that deal more damage to it than the amount it can heal itself. Watch out for those shadow clones trying to flank you with their spells. When it does the fake death, get your heavy weapons ready or place mines around its dead body to kill it quickly again, as well as getting more items from it. The Illusionist gets the D+ grade. Whether if it does the fake death or real death, it will drop items which can include the following: Nemesis Armor Shards, Nemesis Large Life Orbs, the Regeneration Ring, the Ultra Sphere, and its signature drop, the Elusive Sphere. If you wanted to know why the Revenants did not have death with the other Apocalypse Horsemen, well, here's your answer. It's in the Archvile variants. The 11th variant is the Death Knight. Similar design to the Undead Warrior from Heretic, with a large shield on its left arm and a flame sword on its right arm. It is a rare spawn, has modified Undead Warrior sounds, and spawns at 1500 health. It may start walking at a slow speed, but it can also shield itself while it is moving. This monster can do a lot, has many minions to summon. 3 types of its minions are exclusive. The first exclusive minion is the Melee Revenant, which can do charging punches. The second exclusive minion is the Ghoul, which are like the golems that can punch and shoot dual wavy poison projectiles, which they can emit poison gas clouds on death and last for a while. And the third exclusive minions it can summon are 4 ethereal souls, which are mostly invisible, and you can only see them when they try to attack. They also have low health. First Blood. Minions can go through other monsters. It can also summon regular revenants, which are the Guardians, and the most annoying minions it can summon is the Famine. It can also summon a bunch of these minions at a time if it does. It can also resurrect all of its dead minions if you have killed them, and when you have lowered the Death Knight's health. Its defensive move is usually after when it gets hit. It will put up its shield, putting it in an invulnerable and reflective state. What are its other offensive abilities? It has a melee attack. It can fire a couple of homing fire projectiles from its shield. It can also throw the straight flame sword projectiles. Some emit floating flames that last for a while. Another ranged ability it has is throwing a barrage of its own wavy flame projectiles. One thing I noticed, its minions will die if you kill it outside of freezing. Because if you freeze it, not only will it not drop its weapon, but its minions will stay alive. So you have to kill them manually. Sometimes some or all of its minions will stay alive if you kill it too quickly during one of its phases. There is an exploitative way to kill the Death Knight, but comes with great risk. If you stun him to where he puts up his shield, immediately switch to a heavy shotgun that is not the Hexa shotgun. Use the double or quad shotgun, then get up point blank. And if you time it right, the instant after he puts his shield down, blast him again, and each time the Death Knight will put up its shield, as it leaves itself vulnerable, which will mostly then do its melee attack, but also you can risk it doing its shield fireball attacks. His shield is not just his shield, but also the many minions he may spawn. Since they clip through each other, he will mostly be in the middle of the crowd that it makes. You are going to need a weapon like the Devastator, and even then you will need multiple shots from it or a regular legendary rune to kill off most of them. Also a reminder, use the Freezer Rifle on resurrectable enemies to prevent them from being revived from any Archvile variant. The Death Knight gets the C+ difficulty grade. It can drop the Hellfire Ultra Sphere, the Behemoth Cannon, and if you kill it normally, it also drops the Flame Sword. Now, time for the actual boss variants. The first legendary Archvile and 12th variant is the legendary Vessel. It has the appearance of the Flesh Wizard with gold skin and gold aura with a gold light. It is a very rare spawn, has its own sounds, and starts at 2000 health. Despite being a legendary variant, it moves slow. It doesn't even teleport. The attacks are also a bit weird for a legendary. They do have to be avoided, but a lot of them move slow. It can throw legendary firebolts. It can also throw slow swirling legendary plasmatic shots. It can fire a cone laser aiming for the ground, which explodes afterwards. It can fire a slow swirling legendary BFG shot, and also another legendary BFG shot when it displays the legendary Cyber Demon. It also does the same when it fires a legendary Devastator shot. Other attacks, it can display a presence of the legendary Cyber Demon and can fire its rockets as well as firebolts. It is also invulnerable when it charges this attack. It also has a hit scan spell that takes a second before it hits. It even has a small blast radius. It also shoots BFG 11K shots in all directions in a wavy pattern. It may resurrect enemies near it, but it can also unleash multiple quick-moving after-images of itself that go through walls, and to resurrect any dead enemy they pass through. And it can summon two different types of exclusive monsters, which may not die if the vessel dies. The legendary Formicidae, which look like the Catharsi, and the legendary Bulwark, which looks like the Vulgar for Doom 2, or the Poltergeist. Let's start with the Formicidae, 600 health each. The vessel can summon 2 to 4 of these monsters to aid it in battle. As you should know, they function like the Dark Catharsi. It can fire legendary BFG 10k or 11k shots. The round BFG shots are dodgeable, but the 10k shots are lightning fast, and since they have an unpredictable spread, there's a good chance it may hit you if you are in an open area. Now for the Bulwark, 1000 health. Now when the legendary vessel summons the Bulwark, it functions differently. This time you cannot engage the vessel when it summons the Bulwark, as it is invulnerable as long as the Bulwark is alive. But also, the vessel becomes inactive and doesn't attack as well. The Bulwark has more different attacks than the Formicidae. It can also fire its round BFG shots. It also throws a 5 spread of firebolts. It can also throw a short-range flamethrower attack that it can do even if it's far away. Its actual close-ranged attack is a lunge attack. Its last attack is throwing volleys of a spread of light spheres that don't really do damage, but push you around. Again, when you kill it, the vessel becomes active and vulnerable again. Most of the projectile attacks from the legendary vessel are avoidable, making it the easiest legendary variant. The only time it becomes a threat is when it summons minions, specifically the Bulwark, and especially after it summons multiple Formicidae. Also, if you are in an area with multiple dead bodies, because those after images don't have an unlimited range, but they can go far enough to resurrect multiple enemies, you will need cover for those Formicidae. Recommended weapons are the Railgun or the Demon Tech weapons. Weapons with homing ability are also good. Since it is the easiest legendary variant of the Archviles, the legendary vessel gets the C neutral grade. When it dies, it can drop the following items: legendary healing orbs, legendary plasmatic cells and cell boxes, the legendary rifle, legendary power sphere, legendary invisibility sphere, legendary ammo sphere, the legendary power shard, and a legendary random sphere or legendary rune. Archvile variant number 13, the legendary Archvile. and the second one with the word Vile in its name. Yeah, it's not called the Legendary Exile. It has the shape of the Exile that is gold, with a gold light and gold aura. It is very rare, has its own sounds, and comes at 2000 health. It definitely is supposed to move how a legendary variant should. Starts from medium, which then can shift to fast speed anytime and can teleport at a good range. This thing has a bunch of attacks to cast. Not just its own attacks, but it also takes attacks from other legendary monsters. It may resurrect enemies near it. It can cast the base Exile hitscan attack, but with a bunch of times in a row, and can quickly teleport its position before the spell hits. It also has the blinding and disorienting attack that also damages you during the charge. It can throw a spread of projectiles. It can also shoot a volley of homing skull projectiles. It can summon a bunch of Archviles to aid it in battle. What attacks can it mimic from other legendaries? It can throw the legendary Imp's Energy Tendril Power Bomb. It can fire the legendary Fiend's Rapid Bouncing Energy Boomerangs. It can throw the legendary Hell Knight's fast, powerful wall-bouncing shockwave-emitting projectile. It can also throw the legendary Soul's Explosive Shot. Its most dangerous attack is throwing the blast of the legendary Tormentor's near unavoidable Kamehameha Wave. That multi-exile spell attack can really catch you off guard when it teleports before the spell hits, making it difficult to avoid the attack. That teleportation can be the bane of your existence. You are going to need something to deal with the extra Archviles it may summon. It is definitely the safest to be far from it while using weapons like the railgun or homing weapons. In mid-range, use the BFG 10K. You are definitely going to need to be behind something when it throws the legendary Hell Knight ball or especially the Tormentor's Kamehameha Wave. Also, when it dies, more Archviles spawn around it. It can be a bigger pain if it summons the Velocirator. The legendary Archvile gets the A neutral grade. It can drop legendary healing orbs, legendary plasmatic cells and cell boxes, the legendary rifle, the legendary plasmatic cannon, legendary salvation sphere, legendary invulnerability sphere, legendary ultra sphere, and a legendary rune or random sphere. Archvile variant number 14 is the legendary Crusader. It looks like a legendary version of the Death Knight. Gold armor and gold skeleton with blue details with a gold light and gold aura. Very rare, has modified undead warrior sounds, and comes at 3000 health. It may start walking slow, but it can shift its speed to fast, and can teleport just as good as the legendary Archvile. Does it have a melee attack? Yes it does, and it can take a lot of your health down. First blood. It can shoot a barrage of spike balls from its shield that emit more spikes they come in contact with. It can also throw a volley of swirling, slightly homing shots with its shield. It can throw a row of straight projectiles or a spread of them. Its deadliest attack is the volley of projectile-based slashes that have a good velocity and can even go through sprite cover. First blood. First blood. It also has a minion it can summon, the legendary Soulless, which looks like a Famine except with a gold tint and a gold aura. It also fights similar to the Famine, as well as having 900 health. Also, when it resurrects enemies, it appears to give them a buff based on the aura they gain. You just need to stay at a good distance from the legendary Crusader. Never get close to him, or that melee slash or the ranged air slash will get you hard. Watch out, as he can even use the teleport to flank you. The only other thing you need to worry about is its minions, or maybe the resurrected enemies he comes across. Those homing missiles from the Soulless can be a pain. As long as you do not mess around with those homing missiles and stay away from the Crusader and use good, accurate, or homing weapons, and to make sure it doesn't resurrect enemies because you have to use the freezer rifle and get your health in check, you should be able to beat it. The Legendary Crusader gets the B neutral grade. When it dies, it can drop the following: Legendary Healing Orbs, Legendary Plasmatic Cells and Cell Boxes, a Legendary Rune or Random Sphere, Legendary Invulnerability Sphere, the Legendary Salvation Sphere, the Legendary Ultra Sphere, and its weapon, the Legendary Saber. About at the final stretch, variant 15 is the Nemesis Exile. Yeah, no enraged variant. Shape of the Exile that is slightly darker gold with a black aura and black light. It is the second most rare with its own sounds, including Artorias sounds, and spawns at the highest health being at 4,000. The Nemesis Exile is fast, wicked fast. It even teleports at a great range. It has more dangerous attacks than the legendary Archvile. It retains the multi-firing Exile spell attack. It has a second hit scan spell attack that it can be finished passively and hit when you are in its line of sight. The third hit scan attack is similar to the Velocirator, damaging flames before the explosion, which resurrects fallen enemies near its radius and launches you very high. The fourth blinding hit scan attack is the one with damaging screaming flames that can slow your speed before the blast radius explosion. The fifth hit scan unleashes a dark spike from the ground that does a damaging shockwave. It can cast a white projectile-based stream. It also throws the Nemesis Soul's heavy explosive projectiles. It can also throw the fast homing skull shots. Its Artorias' noise attack is when it stands still with a damaging area of effect around it before it does a shockwave of its own. It can even do this shockwave attack immediately, especially when up close. It can summon a bunch of Archviles to aid it in battle. One of the most dangerous things it can summon is a Nemesis rank zombie, with the Commando being the worst one. That second spell attack may be passive while the Nemesis Exile moves, but it can also do other attacks while multitasking. Its teleport attack combo can flank you hard, and I mean hard. It takes a while to kill it with the railguns, and every shot with them may be just a small fraction of health. Even using heavy weapons like the BFG 10K, it can take a while to damage it. Even with the main legendary rune, this thing is challenging. You better hope that the Nemesis minion it summons is anything other than a Commando, because it is the hardest out of all its other minions. Paired up with the fact that it could also summon Velocirators when summoning other Archviles to fight. You are going to need to retreat often and have at least one or more rune before engaging this thing. A Devastator level weapon to deal with all those extra enemies it may summon or resurrect. You just have to have at least all 3 main runes before engaging and constantly keep running from it while shooting it with accurate ranged weapons. Also, never be in an open coverless area. final grade for the Nemesis Archvile is an S-. Yes, S-. Watch out when it dies. It unleashes the Dark Spike and spawns more Archviles around its death area. It can drop the following: Nemesis Healing Orbs, Nemesis Armor Shards, Nemesis Plasmatic Cells and Cell Boxes, Nemesis Shells, the Nemesis Rifle, the Nemesis Plasmatic Cannon, Legendary Salvation Sphere, a Legendary Rune or Random Sphere, and the Nemesis Ultra Sphere. And now the hardest of the hard variant. How do you encounter it? Well, you cannot just summon it. It has to be a special sequence when you beat the Nemesis Exile in one of two ways. If you kill the Nemesis Exile in less than 10 seconds, or kill it with a true legendary rune equipped, this happens. Number 16 is the Vexed Nemesis Exiles. They are white, emitting a white light and white aura. They have a ghostly tail under the torso and have 4 horns. It is the rarest spawn, has more unique sounds, and each spawns with 2,500 health. You may have noticed I said exiles and not 1, because yes, you have to fight not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 Vexed Nemesis Exiles. By the way, when it spawns, it doesn't just start where the Nemesis Exile dies. It can spawn anywhere. Since it is a step above the original Nemesis Exile, not only does it move fast and teleport around all over the place, but it also flies, so don't bother looking for elevated vantage points. Let's go over what attacks are retained from the original Nemesis Exile. The multi-exile spell attack, The Velocirator spell with damaging flames and resurrecting blast radius. The Screaming Flame spell attack that blinds and slows you down before the line of sight blast radius detonation. The Dark Ground Spike spell that does a shockwave. As well as the fast homing skull projectiles. It can even resurrect enemies it comes across. New attacks include firing the Vexed Nemesis Zombies Plasmatic Spread Volley, throwing a bunch of the Vexed Nemesis Assault Captain's spring mines and grenades, firing the Vexed Nemesis Imp's Devastator Hyperball that shoots rail shots and homing projectiles, as well as bouncing off the wall once. Firing the Vexed Nemesis Revenant's 360 spread barrage of plasmatic bouncing cannonball shots. And firing the Vexed Nemesis Side Destroyer's rocket and homing rocket barrage. Do not try to think its defense and durability seems much weaker than the Nemesis Exile's, because I am using a true legendary rune. As using it on the legendary Archvile, the damage you do is the same. I have to make the battlefield bigger just to fight them. I cannot fight 4 of these at once in the same major area. Resorting to moving to other locations just shows its difficulty. And what if you didn't have a true legendary rune, and instead killed it in less than 10 seconds unintentionally? You might as well be in hell for real when that happens. So you have to have the true legendary rune on your side. Even then, if you are not good at avoiding its fast flanking hit scan attacks and homing skull projectiles, it can still kill you easily. If it is by itself, then try to get near it around thick cover and blast it with the main attack of the Freezer Rifle, which again also works best if it resurrects enemies. It does not summon any monsters of its own, which is a relief. So yeah, we have another new record of difficulty. The Vexed Nemesis Side Destroyer and the regular Nemesis Exile got an S- grade. The Vexed Nemesis Revenant got an S neutral grade, so that means the Vexed Nemesis Exile gets the S+ grade. drops are the following: Nemesis Healing Orbs, Nemesis Armor Shards, Nemesis Plasmatic Cells and Shells, or a cluster of them, as well as large healing orbs, legendary plasmatic cells and cell boxes, the Nemesis Rifle, the Nemesis Plasmatic Cannon, the legendary Salvation Sphere, a legendary rune or random sphere, Nemesis Armor, the Nemesis Ultra Sphere, and a chance to drop the Vexed Nemesis exclusive item, the Nemesis Fragment. That is finally it for the Archvile variants of this mod. What will be the next episode will cover either the Arachnotron variants or the Mancubus A.K.A. Behemoth variants. Maybe quite some time before those episodes are made. In the meantime, I will work on other projects some of you may be expecting and doing more gameplay videos. So to all you good Slayer players out there, keep ripping and tearing devils and demons and have a great life.